Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
The Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, has hailed Mexico's position regarding the Israeli massacres committed in Gaza during a meeting held in Geneva with his Mexican counterpart. And the Algerian Red Crescent has loaded an aircraft with 150 tons of humanitarian aid for the benefit of the Palestinian people at the Abu Farik military base. And as the UN Security Council met today to examine a new draft resolution on a ceasefire in Gaza, the Israeli occupation continued its relentless bombardments of the territory, claiming more lives. And those were the major developments. Now the full news edition. Good afternoon. The President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, has chaired a meeting of the Council of Ministers devoted to presentations relating to several sectors. Mariam Barshi has the details.
The President reassured during the meeting that the state is ready to provide all necessary means for all disciplines representing Algeria in the 2024 Olympic Games. The Council of Ministers also agreed on a deal of direct negotiation between the High Commission of Digitalization and the Chinese company UA as part of the importance granted by Algeria to digitization. The President of the Republic also hailed the efforts made by the Sonelgaz company to achieve integrated development and uplift the obstacles that overburden citizens in terms of gas supply. The President also emphasized the imperative of granting major importance to the completion of development programs in the provinces of Khenchla, Tisim-Silt, Jelfa and Tindouf by adopting a strategy based on regional balance in terms of development projects. He also insisted on addressing the failures noted in the past in certain regions compared to others. Meanwhile, the President of the Republic tasked the government to attach great importance to the general agriculture census to identify national capacities and needs in the sector for agriculture and take decisions based on accurate scientific data. Meanwhile, the President hailed the honorable performance of the Algerian diplomatic missions headed by the permanent representative of Algeria to the United Nations, Amr Ben Jammeh. This came after he listened to the presentation by Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf on the current international situation, notably the latest developments regarding the Palestinian cause at the UN Security Council.
And the Algerian Red Crescent has loaded an aircraft with 150 tons of humanitarian aid for the benefit of the Palestinian people at the Abu Farik military base in Blida province. The president of the Algerian Red Crescent, Ibtissam Hamlaoui, said the aid aircraft will land at the Al Arish airport to be later delivered to the Rafah border crossing. In
line with the instruction of the President of the Republic, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces and Minister of National Defense, we launched the air route as part of the solidarity operation of the Algerian Red Crescent, accompanied by the National People's Army, which has provided all necessary means for this solidarity operation. 150 tons of humanitarian aid will head to Gaza, in coordination with the Palestinian Red Crescent and the Egyptian Red Crescent, to El Arish airport, to be then delivered to the Palestinian brothers through the Rafah crossing.
That was the president of the Algerian Red Crescent, Ibtissam Hamlaoui. And about 40 delegates of 25 trade unions from Latin America, the Caribbean, Europe and Africa have expressed their unconditional support to the Sahrawi people and the right for self-determination as part of a Congress of the Argentina Workers Central Union held in the presence of world federations. The Secretary of the International Relations of CTA, Adolfo Aguirre, described the trade union's presence at the meeting as historic and as the most important since the creation of the CTA 32 years ago. In a declaration adopted at the end of the meeting, it highlighted the unity of the world working class and the internationalist solidarity and reaffirmed its unconditional support to the cause of the Sahrawi people and its legitimate right for independence. It also expressed the delegates' support to the Palestinian cause and condemned the genocide perpetrated in the enclave and the West Bank. The Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Ibrahim Boughali, met with his Mexican counterpart, Marcela Guerra Castillo, on the sidelines of the 148th Assembly of the Interparliamentary Union held in Geneva. The two parties examined the bilateral relations and examined cooperation between the two countries on different levels, as well as means of promoting parliamentary diplomacy to meet the ambitions of the two sides. On this occasion, the Speaker of the National People's Assembly affirmed that Algeria has taken important steps thanks to the reforms carried out by the President of the Republic, Abdelmadjid Tebboune, recalling their positive results achieved so far, particularly with regard to women's access to higher positions, particularly in health and education sectors. Regarding the Palestinian cause, Mr. Boughali hailed Mexico's position regarding the massacres committed by the Israeli occupation against the Palestinians, underlining Algeria's support to the cause or the case filed by South Africa, the International Court of Justice. To Palestine now, as the UN Security Council today met to examine a new draft resolution on a ceasefire in Gaza. The Israeli occupation continued its relentless bombardments of the territory, claiming more lives. Palestinian sources said over 100 Palestinians were killed and scores of others were wounded for the 24 hours in a series of attacks carried out by the Israeli forces in various parts of Gaza, including the central and southern parts of the territory. In this connection, the Palestinian Red Crescent said it had lost control with the medical staff of the Al Amal hospital in Khan Yunis following an attack launched by the Israeli forces against the major town. The Israeli airstrikes targeted at least two major hospitals in the southern populated area where thousands of people have sought refuge fleeing the fighting raging in the rest of the enclave. Meanwhile, China said it would back the new draft resolution to be voted shortly and urging for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The draft resolution is submitted by Algeria on behalf of the Arab group within the Security Council is calling for more aid to be allowed in the besieged Gaza Strip. And the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has said during a visit to Jordan that there is growing international consensus to tell the Israeli occupation that a ceasefire is urgent and that an assault on Rafah would cause a humanitarian disaster.
We have been insisting on the need of this ceasefire. In the beginning, our voice was relatively alone. But now we are seeing more and more the international community recognizing the same. Recently, the European Union, for the first time, was claimed the need of a pause leading to a sustainable ceasefire. And we have today in the Security Council a resolution in which a ceasefire is required. So I see a growing consensus emerging international community to tell the Israelis that the ceasefire is needed. And I also see a growing consensus. I heard it in the US, I heard it from the European Union, not to mention, of course, the Muslim world, a growing consensus to tell clearly to the Israelis that any ground invasion of Rafah could mean a catastrophic humanitarian disaster. And I strongly hope that this consensus that is emerging in the whole of the international community will make Israel reflect and avoid what could be a dramatic tragedy.
Antonio Guterres also said that the UNRWA is a source of hope and dignity to Palestinians, stressing that many of the countries who suspended their aid to UNRWA have resumed their financing to the organization.
I see more and more countries recognizing the essential role of UNRWA, and even several of the countries that have suspended the funding have already restarted that funding. And others are telling us that they hope that the result of the investigation and the result of the review will lead to the reestablishment of the funding to UNRWA. It is with hope and with deep conviction that I see the future of the organization.
And that was the statement of the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres at a press conference inside an UNRWA school in Amman, Jordan. The European Union has strongly condemned the Israeli decision to seize more land from Palestinian citizens in the Jordan Valley and occupied West Bank as part of its expansion plans. In a statement, the EU considered the move the largest confiscation since the Oslo Accords in 1993, reaffirming that in line with its long-standing position, it will not recognize the 1967 border changes which are not agreed by the parties concerned. It recalled that the settlements constitute serious violations of international humanitarian law, condemned the expansion and urged the Israeli occupation to reconsider its decision. To Sudan now, the chairman of the Transitional Sovereignty Council of Sudan, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, has examined in Port Sudan with the members of an African Union delegation means of settling the crisis in the country. The meeting, which brought together the members of the AU High-Level Mechanism on Sudan and the Sudanese Foreign Affairs Minister, is part of a series of meetings held with political party leaders and representatives of civil society organizations to discuss how to stop the war and restore peace and stability in Sudan. The AU delegation's visit is aimed at informing the president of the Transitional Sovereignty Council to inform him of the efforts deployed by the AU mechanism with a view to working out a solution. And in Russia, the four assailants alleged to be behind the attack in a concert hall in Moscow, which left 135 deaths, have been placed in pre-trial detention for 2 months by a Russian tribunal. In a statement, it said the four men are charged of terrorism and face life imprisonment. Their pre-trial detention, set until May 22 or 22nd, may be extended pending lawsuit in which the date has not yet been set. 14 hours 42 minutes. Algeria Sam, you're still listening to Radio Algeria International, and that's it, the end of our news bulletin. I invite you now to listen to a program devoted to the importance of fasting for our health. It is compiled and presented by Mohammed Khater.
Hello and welcome to this new edition of your weekly program, The Health Magazine. The holy fasting month of Ramadan is an opportunity for Muslims around the world to purify their mind and take care of their bodies by eating healthy food and working out to enjoy good health. Working out in Ramadan requires careful planning and consideration of timing, intensity, and hydration. It is essential to prioritize safety and avoid vigorous activities that may lead to dehydration or overexertion. By following recommended guidelines, individuals can stay active while honoring their religious observance. Finding the time, energy, and inspiration to exercise in Ramadan might be even more of a challenge than overcoming ordinary obstacles. It